Hello, thank you for joining with me. We are in Ken Wapnick's Journey Through the Text of A Course in Miracles, Volume 1, and we are on Chapter 6, The Lessons of Love. Today we are in the ego's fear of the atonement and finishing up this section. Chapter 6, 5b, 4, 5 through 6. Meanwhile, the increasing clarity of the Holy Spirit's voice makes it impossible for the learner not to listen. For a time, then, he is receiving conflicting messages and accepting both. We all experience this conflict, which is not between people, nations, or ideologies, but always and only between the ego and Holy Spirit, who of course is not fighting anyone or anything. The louder the Holy Spirit's voice becomes, i.e., the more we choose to listen to it, the more fearful the ego's response. The ego says if we continue to listen to the Holy Spirit, we will cease to exist. However, since we are not our egos, it is but the ego that will disappear. Once again, this explains the ego's need to mobilize so quickly and strongly to erect defenses against the mind's power of decision. The way out of conflict between two opposing thought systems is clearly to choose one and relinquish the other. The ego never wants us to understand that there are two opposing thought systems in the mind. In fact, it does not want us to understand there is a mind at all. The ego knows that if we came face to face with these mutually exclusive thought systems, the separation and atonement, we would choose correctly, having recognized our mistaken choice. Therefore, the ego has us project the conflict whereby, for example, national leaders will tell us the problem is between good and evil. We are good and they are evil. The conflict is perceived outside, where one triumphs and the other is vanquished. All this is but an ingenious and brilliantly executed plot to keep the true conflict from ever being resolved. To prevent this from happening, the ego makes the mindless world and body the subject of our next section. If you identify with your thought system and you cannot escape this, and if you accept two thought systems which are in complete disagreement, peace of mind is impossible. No one can truly be peaceful here because the inner conflict of the two thought systems is continually being projected. We then see the conflict outside the mind where it can never be resolved. Since the mind's unresolved and unhealed conflict is always generating a conflicted world, nothing can ever change because our world was made not to change. To repeat this central idea, meaningful change occurs only in the mind. But if we are mindless, meaningful change is impossible, the ego's ultimate purpose. If you teach both, which you will surely do as long as you accept both, you are teaching conflict and learning it. Yet you do want peace, or you would not have called upon the voice for peace to help you. Its lesson is not insane, the conflict is. When people try to teach spirituality on the level of behavior, as almost all do, they teach conflicting thought systems. This shows why formal religions end up as hateful as the sin they were meant to undo, and why Jesus makes the following statement in the psychotherapy pamphlet. Formal religion has no place in psychotherapy, but it also has no real place in religion. In this world, there is an astounding tendency to join contradictory words into one term without perceiving the contradiction at all. The attempt to formalize religion is so obviously an ego attempt to reconcile the irreconcilable that it hardly requires elaboration here. Similarly, nation states trying to preserve a world from fear end up increasing fear by preserving the ego's unconscious conflict. Most unfortunately, we are not aware that we are almost always teaching two conflicting thought systems, but one of which is true, with our projections maintaining this illusory conflict and preserving it from the right mind's healing correction. There can be no conflict between sanity and insanity. Only one is true, and therefore only one is real. Jesus' purpose is to show us his thought system juxtaposed with the ego's. As he says later, who, with the love of God upholding him, could find the choice of miracles or murder hard to make? The choice is hardly difficult once we see clearly that the thought system is murderous and the other brings peace. One thought system is murderous and the other brings peace. Yet, if we cannot see them with open eyes, we cannot choose between sanity and insanity. In that is the simplicity of salvation. Truth without illusions, and therefore within the kingdom. Truth is, I keep skipping words, I apologize. Truth is without illusions, and therefore within the kingdom. Everything outside the kingdom is illusion. The Holy Spirit reminds our decision-making minds that the true self is only in the kingdom. The separated self is an illusion. This fact is the ego's undoing and leads us to examine the body's role in the ego's strategy of self-preservation. It is important for students of A Course in Miracles to recognize that the ego's purpose for the body is imprisonment in the dream. When this is understood, the meaning of the world becomes crystal clear, and its purpose can be shifted to learning of our mind's freedom to choose, the prerequisite for awakening from the ego's nightmare of separation to our joyful reality within the kingdom. And that is the conclusion for today. Tomorrow we will start the next section, and we are on chapter 6. Thank you so much for joining with me. My book's dirty. I carry it everywhere with me. It's like getting tore up. I appreciate you. Have a beautiful day. I will see you then. I love you.